Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hi, Chelsea. Hello, Emma. Hello to everyone joining us watching the replay. Hey, girl. So nice to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to day 5 of the Blissful Birth Awakening. I cannot believe it's already day 5. It has flown past for me, and I so appreciate you being here and giving your attention and your time and investing in your motherhood and birth journey, because it is such a powerful rite of passage that needs our attention and intention and support. And one of the reasons this event exists is because it was so challenging for me to find this information and really navigate my own rite of passage. And today we're going to be talking about charting your sacred path. And so we're going to talk about reasoning with all of the factors in your life and really getting a good idea of what to expect outwardly in what's going to be coming your way with birth and motherhood. So, whether you're planning your first conception and you're starting to plan integrating in a new baby into your family for the first time, whether you're planning a second child, whether you are pregnant and expecting already, there is a lot of truth that can be gleaned from learning how to reason with information, learning how to advocate for evidence-based care and informed consent, and then taking all of those external factors and tuning into your heart, into your dreams, and into your voice to make the decision that's best for you. So, we're going to focus today on charting that path wherever that is for you. I'm also going to be sharing some information just about our culture and how to choose your provider, how to choose your place of birth. And we're going to look at the areas in our life where we might be feeling pressure because of being over the age of 35, or pressure to hurry up and go into labor, or you're going to be induced, or pressure from a spouse or a family member who wants another baby and you're not quite ready yet. We'll look at, yeah, we'll look at and examine all of that. And really, after today, I hope you have some inspiration and clarity about relaxing into your own time. A lot of the pressure that comes from our culture is related to timing and this kind of masculine, aggressive productivity, do, go, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And that affects our bodies. It affects our ability to conceive. It affects our going into labor spontaneously, because any kind of pressure that's causing tension is naturally going to kind of slow down the process, especially when you're actually in labor. And if you've listened to me long enough now, you know that I relate pretty much everything in life and creation to birth, because there's so much universal wisdom in birth. And this is your gentle reminder that you cannot control birth. You can make your conscious choices. You can pray to your creator. You can relax and surrender. But truly, the only thing you really can control once you're pregnant and ready to birth is your ability to not control. Which is such a dichotomy, and it's such an art and such a state of mind and consciousness. So let's begin by a little bit of a grounding. We're going to do some kind of hypnobirthing related exercises here. So have a seat, come into your space. You can lay down and get cozy if you'd like. And gently close your eyes. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your booty in the chair. And Do a couple shoulder rolls, maybe. Just kind of start breathing naturally and moving your body, rolling one shoulder back again and again, stretching your neck to the side, and then switch. Rolling your shoulders back, getting a good, nice, juicy flow of energy in your neck and your shoulders. Continue to breathe. And now let's do some head circles. Just gently let your chin drop down and then roll to the left, down and roll to the right. And focus on enjoying this sensation as much as possible. This nice, juicy stretch in your muscles. Some of that pressure and tension releasing with the stretch. Good. And now let's bring our attention to our sits bones and our pelvic floor. This area is the passageway for new life. Your pelvis, your pelvic floor, your reproductive organs. Let's just give it some attention. Bring all of your awareness here. And notice any sensations that might be present, whether it's feeling relaxed and loose, feeling tight, or inflexible. Notice if there's any areas that need more tender, loving care and more space and attention. And now let's take a nice deep breath in, filling the air down to the pelvic floor, sending that inhale down, down, down. And exhale, melt and open that pelvic floor. And another deep breath in, sending everything down. And on the exhale, just melt into your chair. Maybe do a couple wiggles, a couple figure eights. And keep taking your deep breaths. Inhale and a nice long exhale. Making sounds with your vocal cords will naturally relax this area. And a deep breath in. Inhale and exhale. Melting into your seat. And continue to just breathe naturally, however feels good to you. Coming into your body, giving nice gratitude and reverence for our bodies. And bringing your mind right here, right now, within your body. Knowing that your body has sacred, divine wisdom that can be tuned into at any moment. Giving thanks for your body for this beautiful communication mechanism that she is. Knowing that our bodies deserve our love and our acceptance, and that this state and this connection to our body is an evolving process as we change and grow in motherhood. Women go through so many beautiful cycles and rites of passage where there's an incomplete and total rewiring of our brain, our nervous system, our hormones, our chemistry. The first is when we start our menses and puberty. And then we have the beautiful opportunity of birth, pregnancy, motherhood, and postpartum, where there's a massive shift that mimics the shift that happens in puberty. And then as we move into greater wisdom and life experience, we start to experience perimenopause and menopause. And that is another shift in itself. And it's also a sacred rite of passage. And our body gives us tremendous information and value and a coming home to ourselves through the sensations of the body and the sensations of our emotions. So remember, part of accessing your body is accessing your emotion. Your body is a sacred keeper of every experience that you've had up until this point. Let's take a nice deep breath in. And now say after me, either out loud or in your head, I trust my body. I trust divine timing. I trust the cycle of life and birth and death. Another deep breath in. I surrender to that which is out of my control. I trust my ability to respond in the moment to what arises. My inner voice and truth is loud and clear. I have a deep connection to my needs, and I'm able to easily prioritize my needs. My choices every day reflect sacred reverence for my soul growth. I experience bliss in the alignment and connection of my mind, body, heart, soul, and spirit. I am the embodied mother. Now, take a nice deep breath in through your nose. On the exhale, a nice slow, low sound from your vocal cords. Labor sounds as you birth your new identity. A nice deep breath in and exhale, allowing all pressure and tension to dissipate externally outward into your aura, letting it all go. Take some nice deep breaths in. Begin bringing your awareness as you breathe naturally to your toes, your fingertips, the neck, and the crown of your head. And now let's take a nice deep breath in and exhale. Open your eyes when you're ready. Hello, love. All right. Hopefully, we are feeling nice and relaxed and ready to roll with the day. So, one of the things that I have found really life-changing in my motherhood journey is my ability to trust in timing. And after working with so many women and families and seeing the external pressure that we face in our journey with trusting timing, I've learned to really navigate the external pressures that we face and come into a deeper sense of my own timing. And one of the most important things that I have worked on and consciously built is self-acceptance. And now that I've been a mother for about 7 years, 7.5 almost now, so I've gone through this 7-year cycle of infancy and really learning how to navigate all of these shifts and changes in relationship to this profound love that I have for my child. Like the love is so all-consuming and overwhelming. And if you're here, it's because you want to do a good job. You want to be the best mother that you can be. And you know that this is really important. Maybe you want to mother in a way that is completely different than how you were mothered and how you were raised. And granted, our families were doing the best that they could, right? The best that they could with what they were given. And there is a flow and a cycle of energy that comes from our ancestral line that we are given and that we are connected to. And the whole purpose for these patterns that come down our ancestral line is to grow in love and grow in learning and wisdom. Sometimes this can be experienced as pain. Sometimes this can be experienced as strength. And there's a loyalty to this lineage that we naturally hold in our DNA. And for me, it's been really just a blissful experience of coming to know the depth of this and really being able to have enough centeredness in my being to have control over how I respond to my children as this flow of ancestral pattern and energy is coming through me and being passed along to them. And so much of my learning has been accepting myself and timing, accepting my timing. So children, as you will see, and babies are incredibly present. They are just in the moment, they're flowing, they've got this beautiful energy and this just kind of bright, complete expression of emotion. And that is our true nature. That is the nature of human beings. This gets conditioned out of us by a culture that wants us to produce, that wants us to fit in, that wants us to rush. And children can be quite marginalized in this way. And I know for myself growing up, I was not really allowed to have emotional expression. I mean, I had to go to my room and like punch a pillow, right? Like in order to really get these rage feelings out and express them. And our children need this safe space to be who they are instead of trying to mold them into what we think they should be. And this is another great lesson is that you care so much about birth and life and the timing of things that we cannot control. And you'll find that you also cannot control your children. So the sooner you can learn to come from a place of deep presence and connection to both yourself and your inner wisdom and your children, the better your motherhood journey will be. And the more whole and relaxed and connected to themselves that your children will be. So when we're talking about charting your sacred path, it's important in a few ways. A few different things are important here. One is, if you're planning conscious conception and you're planning to conceive another child, you do have the choice of when you start that journey, but you don't always have the choice of when you're going to conceive. So it's very important to be accepting of yourself and in the journey. So if you're starting out and you're in infancy, there's these stages of growth that we go through when we start something new. And so being in infancy with your fertility and conception journey, whether it's your first baby or your second baby or your third baby, would look like having tremendous gentleness for yourself. If you think about what a baby needs lots of attention, lots of support, lots of connection, lots of touch, lots of nurturing. So these are the qualities that we want to bring into charting our sacred path and into this journey and this evolution. It can be challenging to wait when you want something so much. Another quality is curiosity and openness. And when you're in infancy with something, being really curious about, I wonder why I'm feeling resistance to this. I wonder why I feel like I need to hurry up and do this. I wonder why I'm feeling so much pressure to go into labor right now at 40 weeks. And I think what you might find is that a lot of this is related to fear. A lot of it is related to some of the women I work with have expressed fear of being over the age of 35. And what I would say to you, if you're worried about fertility or conception or even birth over the age of 35, is you actually have so much choice. You have so much control over how you treat your body. So I'm certified in a technique called spinning babies. And in this spinning babies protocol, it's actually a training, not a certification. It's a separate certification is something separate. But I have used this for probably 60 different births. And part of the wisdom of spinning babies is learning how to strategically open the pelvis based on where the baby is located. So you will see and experience, if you're in the medical model for your care, that there's this obsession over cervical checks, right? Like at 37 weeks in your standard of care, if you go to an OB, which we'll talk about more in a little while, if you go to an OB, they're going to start offering you cervical checks. And sometimes it might not even be an offer. It might be, okay, I'm going to check your cervix now. You ready? Right? So there's not a lot of consent sometimes. But the thing that's so wild is the cervix is not indicative of when the baby is coming at all. What is indicative of when the baby is coming is the position of the baby. So learning to strategically open your pelvis so that the baby can come down, that is a huge factor in your birth outcome. Also taking care of your body. So if you're exercising and you're moving regularly and you're focusing on 3 things, which is strength, mobility, and flexibility. Okay. It's those 3 things as we evolve and age as women are incredibly important. So if you're someone who sits in an office chair all day, and you've been doing that for 35 years, you're more likely to have difficulties than a 25-year-old who's been sitting in an office chair for 5 years, right? Like say 20 to 25, and you've been sitting in an office chair from age 20 to 35. Right. So there are so many factors, and you could call it biohacking if you want, that can really play into this. And so when you're charting your path and you're ready to start another, like either add a child to your family or give birth for the first time, and you have that pressure or that fear about your age, it's valid. I hear you. Our bodies do change. Our hormones change as we move into this stage of life, but you are not geriatric. Okay. I hate that they call us that. You can do so many things to get your body into the ideal state. And the first thing is love and acceptance. So if you're someone who is, if you look back on your pictures from when you were like 18, 19, and you think, oh man, wow, I was so fit then. And I thought I was fat. When I was 18 and in this picture, I thought I was fat, right? Like if I've had so many women tell me that they've had that experience, it's time for us to, instead of judging our bodies on physicality, to start feeling into our bodies with gratitude. And that practice can make a huge impact on conception, fertility, your birth outcomes, especially if you're over the age of 35. All right, let me see. What'd you say, Chelsea? Chelsea says, as my child is downstairs terrorizing my mom as she is doing her pelvic floor class, and I just want to stay here. I should go save my mom. I love you. My children terrorize my mom as well. It's different. Grandmothers don't handle it the same way as moms sometimes. And then, oh, my mom was just telling me over and over just now, don't have another baby. Sucks to be so torn and influenced. Yeah. Yeah, it's a big decision adding another baby in. And I'll share a little bit of my journey with that. When I say trust my time, trust your timing. This is kind of a wild thing. So I had the night I conceived my first son, it was actually Thanksgiving of, I guess that would be 2017. And I was at my stepmom's grandmother's house. So I had driven kind of across Kansas where I was living to this beautiful farm. And the stepmom has like the grandmother had like 13 children. So it was a massive family. Okay. All kinds of different interconnected internal family systems going on. And after our meal, we sat down at a fire and I was sitting with my stepmom. I will never forget this. And there were her aunts and some of her, like, it was basically all the matriarchs of the family were sitting there around a campfire. And I was talking about birth and how I was so incredibly excited to experience the fullness of a life passing through my body. And at this point, I mean, I guess I was 34 because I think I had him at 35 or 36. I'm really bad at math. I was 35 when I was pregnant. And then I turned 36 and had him. So I really just remember receiving this just divine love and all-encompassing nurturing and this matriarchal energy into my whole being. And I drove home that night. It was like an hour drive, and I was just kind of reveling in this. And then when I got home, my husband and I had just moved into like this tiny like studio apartment. We had just sold a house and we were trying to figure out what to do next. And he was actually sleeping on the floor of the walk-in closet. And I was like ready to go. And we conceived our baby that night. And it was, on the first try. So I was very blessed and lucky in that sense. Now, I've shared a little bit about my story giving birth and then my postpartum journey, which just rocked my world in such a way that like I'm honestly still recovering from. Like, it has taken me 7 years to move out of mothering from the wounded maiden. It has taken me 7 years to claim my motherhood, which is wild. And this is why I have created the 10-week program, the Intuitive Birth Codes, because the sooner that women have this information and have this level of deep soul journey and inner work support, the better our outcomes are going to be as an entire society. So I went through my postpartum journey and was rocked. My body recovered fairly easily. I went back to my weight, my pre-pregnancy weight really fast. My belly went back to its original size really fast. And of course, I was elated about that because it was just like so important to me at the time. Now I'm like, whatever, like get the pressure off of us. Our bodies just gave life. Like, come on. But the second time, really rocked my world. I knew that I had this idea that I wanted to have my children close together, because then I would just like be recovering and I would get my body back. Right. So like my whole idea of having my children close together was about still looking like the maiden, still having that snatched waist, still being able to like keep the weight off, like getting back to my normal self. Right. That was my seed thought. And when I work with my clients, I really like to examine the intentions behind with which we're doing something, especially when it comes to conception and pregnancy and birth, because there are so many other factors to consider, right? Well, when I conceived the second time, when we had our baby, um, there was this very interesting thing that came over me. So I was about, let's see, I realized, I discovered I was pregnant on my son's first birthday. So I was out there setting up the table for his first birthday, and woo, this big celebration. I made it a year of motherhood, and all of these things. And someone looked at me and they said, you look a little pale. Are you feeling okay? And I was like right when they said it, I took a moment instead of rushing around to tune in. And I was like, I'm pregnant. Like I knew right then. And what happened, we weren't necessarily planning it that soon, but my husband and I were being intimate, like, a few weeks earlier. And something came over me while we were in the bedroom. And this is like really personal, but whatever, we're all, it's a safe space, right? So I like had to have his semen inside me in that moment. Like that's what happened. It was just like I was on top. I had all the control. Like we have this kind of thing where we know when I'm fertile and when to like not have that happen. But something literally came over me and it was like animalistic. And we conceived our baby in that moment. And I realized I was pregnant and I was just like, oh my gosh, I am so not ready for this. Like, how am I going to go through this birth again? Like, I still had remnants of like the sensations of birth in my field. And it was just like this, I don't know if I can do this again. Like, I do experience bliss in birth. However, like if you've ever had a stomach virus and like you're vomiting and when that next wave comes in your body and you're like, I think this might end me because I can't vomit again. It's so painful. It's so much. It's so intense. I had that kind of a sensation in my body about it. And I wound up getting an intuitive reading from Golbahar Dadian, who talked about family constellations and internal family systems. And these readings are done from like a state of hypnosis. And so it's kind of like Esther and Jerry Hicks and Abraham in a way, although there's not an entity speaking through her. She's going in and she's reading these deep inner levels and these kind of this energy that's moving through all of consciousness to look at the perspective of the soul and the perspective of this kind of super conscious state, right? This state of presence, the state of all well-being. And what the reading asks. So I asked about the baby and the conception because I just really needed some inner guidance. And I love these readings for this purpose because they'll give you some perspective, but they'll never tell you what to do and they won't predict the future. So it's still all about you and intuiting your needs and your steps. But in the reading, it talked about my son, which, I was in my womb at the time, and it said that he was adamant about the timing of this birth and the timing of the place that his parents were in and his brother, that he like insisted and that in a way like pressured himself into into the birth, into the timing. And when I heard that, I was like, that's so interesting because I did have this kind of feeling of like, I don't know where this came from, but like I had to have him right then, right? Like, and then we conceived. And so I got this reading and I was really, really anxious about my second pregnancy and birth because of all of the things I went through the first time. I was anxious about the labor itself because when I went into it the first time, I had no idea, right? Like what was going to happen. And I did experience some trauma from the birth that, I hadn't really reconciled. I hadn't spoken through. And this is why I offer birth trauma integration sessions where I get on the phone and we talk through the entire experience and we feel some of those sensations and we come to greater understanding and release, because if you have any trauma, whether your birth went exactly as planned, but it was still a lot, or like you weren't supported in postpartum, like how I was, and that was traumatic. And then the mood disorders I went through was traumatic. I hadn't processed any of that. And it was all still like kind of stuck in my body. It was all still completely coloring my nervous system for the second birth. And so receiving that reading helped me to really understand, okay, there's a divine timing that is crucial to my family constellation and my internal family systems. And what's something that's really fascinating, I love astrology. So my favorite use for astrology at this time in my life is to look for the patterns that run through families. And so I often find that there's a lot of like astrological opposites in families. So there's, so I'm a Cancer sun, and every Cancer has an inner Capricorn, and every Capricorn sun sign has an inner Cancer. And there's kind of this axis of balance because, on the wheel of astrology, they're 180 degrees, right? Like, so Cancer, Capricorn. Well, my dad's a Capricorn. I'm a Cancer. My husband, his mother, grandmother, and aunt who basically raised him are all Cancers. And then he married a Cancer. The wife he had before me was Capricorn. So crazy, right? So there's definitely a balance on that axis. My husband is Pisces. My son is Virgo, right? So there's the Pisces Virgo axis in the family. And when you dive deeply into this, you see a lot of patterns that are just incredible, that when I first dived into astrology, the first time I ever discovered it, I remember thinking, do we really have any choice? Right? Like, how did all of this happen? So divinely orchestrated. And the truth, the answer is yes, we do have choice. And there is also will, and there's also destiny. And so my youngest coming in at the time that he did, he is actually Taurus with Scorpio moon. And nobody in our family has any Taurus or Scorpio. So I was kind of shocked to see that. And I definitely did not think the timing was going to land so that was the astrological influence. But it makes me wonder what he's introducing into the flow of our family constellation, this flow of love that's moving, these patterns that are moving in a constant state of evolution and healing. That's the opportunity for us. So discovering all of this, I definitely, there was kind of like my brain and conscious mind would not have been ready for a second child. Like if we had been intentionally like, okay, we're going to try for a second child, I don't think I would have done it so soon. Right. I would have waited. And especially because it was really challenging for my body to not have a full 2 years to recover and rebuild my pelvic floor. And, there's a lot of depletion that happens in the mother. The mother gives so much on a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical level each birth, that I do wish that instead of feeling, I won't say I wish, but if I was making more of an informed decision, some factors I would have considered is the recovery of my body. I would have prioritized that over trying to rush because I was over the age of 35. And also having a better understanding of the recovery of my body and what that actually means. So I'm talking pelvic floor, hormones, nutrients, the mind-body connection. So mental health is huge. The nervous system. I mean, scientists are now saying that infancy, instead of being a year, is actually 3 years, because your nervous system is still so intricately connected to your child up until 3 years. And so they're actually saying when they measure infancy in the terms of the nervous system, it's 3 whole years. Now, I love having my kids back to back, like in their age, they're 20 months apart. So my oldest was like still a baby. He wasn't even verbal yet. So they're really close in age, but they are the best of friends. And it's very amazing. And it's beautiful to witness that, in the grand scheme of things, like my body made tremendous sacrifices, which I thank her for. And also, there was a reason why it happened that way. There was a reason why that's beyond anything we can know. And this is true when we lose a baby as well. And as you know, loss and miscarriage is a huge part of the motherhood journey. This is a journey into the underworld. We go into the deepest, darkest, most feminine places of our soul and our existence in motherhood. And we're brave and we're strong and we're courageous, and we were built to handle this. And even with loss, you know, there is something to be said about how that prepares a woman for grief. Because even in births that do not end in loss, and there is a healthy baby, there's still a tremendous amount of grief. So, all that to say, this is a process unfolding. And it's really important to give yourself love and acceptance and gentleness and care. So, back to charting our path and really having the ability to reason and make informed decisions and trust our intuition. So, there are some key skills that we need at any stage, whether you're planning your first baby, whether you're planning your second baby, whether you're waiting for your birth or trying to chart the path of your birth. There are some key skills. So the first is reasoning. Reasoning is produced when you have an understanding of the past experiences, you are in the present moment, and you have a future outcome or desire that you're working towards. So one of the first questions I ask women when they're planning is, how much do you want to be managed in your care? How much do you want to be interfered with or intervened with? And for some women, they actually want to be managed. They want to be the responsibility of the birth to be on the provider. So in those situations, obstetrics is the most highly managed system and plan that you can have. If you want to be undisturbed, completely undisturbed. And if you've never read the work of Michel Audin, he was the guru of undisturbed birth. And what he noted in all of his experience, and he was an obstetrician, he studied birth and witnessed the midwives attending the births. And his really theme or thing that he's known for is the knitting midwife. And the midwife who sat in the corner and knitted, the births that she attended and was present for had more peaceful and spontaneous outcomes and easier labors than the midwife that was interrupting the woman giving birth and like startling her out of the birth state. So he has a series of books about birth and evolution, undisturbed birth, and he is really, really amazing. For me as a doula, I want you to have the birth that you want. That is but you know, in saying that, also what you want is going to be greatly impacted by your level of education. So knowing with reasoning, when we're talking about reasoning, there is a stage where you need to gather information. So if you're planning a family and you also have a business, say, and you're like, well, we're relying on my income, I've got this business, I don't want my business to die, or my career could be impacted by the getting pregnant and going on maternity leave. This is a huge issue for women in our country. We have quite a lot of repercussions in terms of our earning potential when we have children. There's lots of studies about this. It's quite heartbreaking, actually. So reasoning with even knowing what this is going to be like. And there's some universal that we can explore with this. So knowing that, all right, for 3 months, that's the 4th trimester. For 3 months, save your money and plan, you know, your tribe, the people who are going to take care of you, the people who are going to feed you, the people who are going to clean for you, the people who are going to hold the baby while you shower, that you trust, that you can be naked with, right? that for those first 3 months, I would say plan nothing if you can. Just receive, cuddle your baby, sleep, rest, focus on your nourishment. If thinking about doing that for 6 months to a year feels scary to you because of your other responsibilities and your other creations, you can always pivot, right? You can plan for that 3 months and then maybe gently go back to work. And one of the things that is a key factor of reasoning is really knowing what all of your options are. And instead of just having one or two options, creating 3 or 4. And then when you're in the situation, because you don't know how you're going to feel, your entire identity is dissolving and reintegrating into a completely new level of consciousness when you give birth and become a mother. So having kind of a plan laid out with options, well, I could be off for 3 months and then I could come back after that, and maybe I'll just do this one little thing in my business, or maybe my partner will be handling the finances during that time. But having that list of options kind of laid out, and usually when I work with my clients, there are options that I can think of that they haven't. And so it's nice to have that external perspective from someone who has a lot of wisdom in this area, who's seen this journey unfold for hundreds of women, that can say, hey, I know someone who did it this way. Maybe we explore that. So having options is part of reasoning, and then also having evidence-based information. So if you are deep in the medical model, you're very likely not being given evidence-based information. It takes about 17 years for studies to be put into practice in obstetrics. Okay. And I don't have anything against hospitals or OBs. You'll hear me say this again and again. I've seen them save lives and not just cause issues, but actually, there was an issue that was not caused by them and save a life. And I would never want anyone to feel less than if they needed the system, which is why instead of like sitting here bashing the system, what I like to do is I like to hold it accountable and teach women how to be strong and in the authority, even within the system. And even if you birth at home or outside the system, you have a sovereign birth, you're still going to navigate the system in your everyday life as you're raising your children. And that's why self-advocacy and inner listening is so incredibly important, because you're going to be doing this for your child with their healthcare, with their education, with the family members that you work with, right? That are helping you with your children. Oh, I'm looking at the chat here. Chelsea says, my doula barely interfered. Yep, just got poop out of the water and unwrapped the cord around the baby when she was born, basically. Yeah. Oh, your partner, you guys pulled her out together. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Great. No doctor, no schools. Yeah. And so this is your right. Like, this is your choice. And one thing I will say, another thing when you're thinking about, do you want to be managed or undisturbed? Chelsea, you clearly wanted to be undisturbed, which is beautiful. And the thing that's really powerful about making that choice is that, yes, you're the authority, and also you have all of the responsibility, right? So people who choose more of the medical model, the responsibility is usually placed on the provider, right? The provider is going to keep you safe. The provider is going to make the recommendations. But also it's important to note, if you are picking an obstetrician, they are trained in what's going wrong. That is their training. They are trained for surgery. And I've worked with countless amounts of obstetricians who don't seem to know how natural physiological birth unfolds, or they're terrified of it. They can't handle it when a woman wants to flip on her hands and knees, because they only know how to deliver the baby on their back. right? And this is not all obstetricians, but this is like the psyche of obstetrics, right? And each person who chooses to be an obstetrician has a different way of, working within that psyche. So it's important just to note that your choices unfold based on the level of responsibility that you want for the outcome, how disturbed, undisturbed, or how managed you want to be. And I find that the more and more women educate themselves about natural physiological birth, the spiritual rite of passage, what it actually requires in order to have a peaceful journey unfolding in the birth, the more they choose undisturbed. Because working within the divine nature of the body and how the body works is always the most easeful and peaceful option. When we try to control, we try to play God, we try to do all of these things to make birth happen. We freak women out by telling them at 20 weeks their baby's measuring big, which is absolute hogwash. Like, that ever happens to you at 20 weeks, just change providers. Just do it. Like, if you want undisturbed birth, if you want a natural birth in a hospital, change providers if they're talking about big baby at 20 weeks. It is the biggest fear tactic, and it's the biggest scam ever. Let's see. Chelsea says, my doula just always helped me feel like this was the most natural thing ever. And anytime I had questions, I could just contact her. Such a blessing. Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. She did donation based because she feels that birth is a ceremony. I love that. She sounds like a birth keeper to me, like someone who really just holds the space. And depending on the birth that someone wants, a doula can do either one. So that's lovely. Thank you, Chelsea. Before I go on to talking about the intuitive birth codes, did you remember a dream last night, Chelsea?
Yeah, I had a dream that I was in Europe and I somehow was in this group and I decided to be a realtor or something. And then my dad's a realtor and I've not wanted to be a realtor. So I had also taken on another responsibility of being like the financial manager or something. And and that's my
That's
family.
okay.
Um, yeah,
Hey,
and then
motherhood is welcome.
yeah, and then I thought about it and I was just like, do I really need to take on being a financial manager? And then I was able to delegate it to someone at the very end. I was like, I don't really want to do this. I'm not equipped to do this. And someone else was able to take it on. So that was like the end of the dream that I recall before I woke up. And I woke up like pretty early this morning. So I just thought that was
Wow.
interesting.
Cool. Would
And
you
then I
like
wanted
some
to go
insights?
travel because I got my like,
Oh,
I'm, launching this whole travel business. We have a lot of trips to Europe in the spring, and I was actually supposed to go to my priestess pilgrimage in Avalon this month, but I canceled it. So I'm just like, feels like Europe is still calling, but not in the way. Yeah.
wow. Wow. Can I give you some insights? Is that okay? Okay. So I mentioned before that I like interpreted dreams professionally for like 8 years. I've got thousands of my own dreams written down and interpreted. And it's important to note that everything in the dream represents an aspect of you, and every person represents a part of yourself, so an aspect of yourself. So in that dream, what it sounds like, so there's this kind of element of authority with the real estate with your dad, and like because you tied it together with your dad, there's like this element of feeling like you're pressuring yourself to do something that doesn't feel right, that you don't really want to do, and then kind of moving into more of a like a freedom state through the thinking process. So finances and numbers has to do with like how you're thinking, and like kind of it's like it's more of a brainy, like concrete physical thinking. So I would say looking at how you're releasing pressure from yourself with your own inner authority. And like, anytime we have something connected to a parent in the dream, it has to do with our own internal knowing of what's best for us. That's how I would say like authority is like knowing what's best for you. So a shift that's happening where you're making a decision that is moving away from pressuring yourself and into more of this kind of thinking process that's producing a little bit more freedom, because you did, like you said, you did leave and go travel in the dream. Yeah. Okay.
I was like,
So
bye,
those,
I have to go travel.
yeah. Okay. Interesting. So, there's no good or bad to any of this. There's just, it just is what it is. But usually it has to do with like the day or two before. So when people are having dreams, when you understand the message in the dream, it's going to affect the dream that night. It's going to affect your whole day the next day. And then things will continue to shift and change in the dream. And once you start writing them down regularly, there's like a theme that you can notice. Or sometimes people will have recurring dreams. Like I have a lot of ex-boyfriend dreams. It's funny. I will never dream about the person I'm with currently. It's always an ex-boyfriend. It's so random and weird. But those are, the dreams and the patterns in dreams will show you whether or not you're making shifts or changing, and also how you feel about those shifts and changes. So thank you for sharing that. I love that so much. All right. So I mentioned last week that I'm starting a 10-week program that's called the Intuitive Birth Codes. And I kind of talked about how this is a journey into trusting yourself, trusting your timing, and really charting your sacred path in conception and bringing a baby into the world. And so this program is really great for women who you've created your life, you've got the lifestyle that you love, maybe you've got a booming business that you love, maybe you have a great social life and you're just really ready to bring in and start a family. And you're starting to feel a little bit of, like, oh, this is a really big shift. And it's a huge shift. A lot of the women that I work with are still on a healing journey from their own mothers and how they were mothered. A lot of the women that I work with are very conscious and aware, and they've done a lot of self-healing already. And they have an awareness that there's an even deeper journey arising. So if this is you, if you've done self-work, you've done the meditations, you've done the embodiment stuff, you've done the soul searching and all of those things, and you're on the threshold of starting your family, there are so many things that are going to arise and get stirred up as you bring in a new soul into your family constellation, your family nervous system. So one of the things I'm the most passionate about is how relationships unfold through the lens of birth and motherhood. So working with your parents, right? And some of the people who might be able to trigger you the most, at least for me, it has been working with your partner and building a stable structure and intimate connection with your partner, where your partner is walking with you equally. And this mental load that we experience as women of carrying it all and taking it all on, especially once the baby arrives, is really balanced and you feel supported and well resourced. We're going to dive deeply into the Gene Keys Venus sequence for each person. There's going to be one-on-one coaching with this so that you can get to the heart of your life in 7-year cycles, and so that you can have a real feel of the divine feminine flow of love and a direct experience of that through the Gene Keys. And if you're not familiar with the Gene Keys, it is one of the most beautiful tools for love and self-healing and deep inner work and inner guidance. So I've brought in a certified Gene Keys mentor, and she's also a parenting guide and parenting mentor. who has children that are older. They're like 19 and 23 or something along those lines. And so she's got a lot of wisdom, and she's used the gene keys throughout her parenting journey to come to deeper states of awareness in herself and in her relationship with her girls. And she's constantly supporting me. And I thought, can you just come in and do this for all my people in the intuitive birth codes? So having this, we're going to bring in the partner as well towards the middle of the 10 weeks. And we're going to make sure that your partner is very well prepared in terms of education, in terms of presence, in terms of doing their own work, so that when the baby arrives, you are both maturing and stepping into parenthood in the ways that's truly nourishing and truly supportive, so that the most love that's available to flow through you from this family constellation and this ancestral lineage can flow. So anything that would be blocking that, like trauma or wounding from the mother that you had, or just self-judgment or pressuring the self, is cleared. And you're able to really make decisions from this heart-centered, deep inner trust and connection to your baby, connection to yourself. This journey is all about the relationship with yourself. And that's why we're also going to interpret dreams, and connection to your partner. One day down the line, I definitely want to offer partner retreats like baby moons, but it's all going to be focused in embodiment and Ayurvedic nutrition and deepening partner intimacy, and also connected parenting and aware parenting, because these foundational tools, the sooner you get them, the better, truly. In a culture where we have like the worst maternal mental health outcomes, the sooner you have this support, the better. So this is your invitation to apply for the intuitive birth codes. It starts on November 10th. And if you book your call, your free introductory call with me, I'll drop it in the chat, before October 20th, then you get $500 off the program. All right. So thank you guys so much for being here. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. At 1:00, we're going to be talking about Ayurvedic nutrition and wisdom for the body with Victoria Weber, who was my postpartum doula for the second birth. She's probably the reason that I didn't get postpartum OCD and intrusive thoughts the second time around, even giving birth at the very beginning of the COVID lockdown. So we're going to talk about how to nourish the body at all stages of the journey with Ayurveda. And this is the oldest medicine known to humanity. It's beautiful, and it's so foundational for our mental, emotional, and physical health. This was our last day. Thank you so much for your attention and your investment in yourself. I have absolutely loved being with you guys and interacting with you guys over the last, I guess we had a break over the weekend, but 5 days. It's been absolutely beautiful. Thank you for receiving. You have access to all of the replays up until October 20th. If you haven't looked through the replay portal, there is all kinds of information in there for you. And depending on what your journey is, if you want aware parenting, if you want understanding soul growth and family systems, if you want practicality of how labor works, relaxation techniques, it's all in there for you. So go check it out. And thank you again so much. I'm wishing you the best, most peaceful, most blissful motherhood journey that you can imagine. Bye.